Okay, what I'm going to be doing in this scene is I'm going to be doing, oh, I don't know if it's a sibling version of this warm scene that I did in the live stream yesterday, but I don't know, it'll be kind of the same composition, but you'll see what this looks like in a different spirit, meaning same medium, but just a different color. Someone was asking me about kind of keeping things fresh and, the utilization of the same imagery, but with nature, we have different times of day, different seasons, different media, different moods, weather, everything can change, and thus completely changing the spirit of the imagery that we are utilizing, depicting, etc. It never gets old. I mean, it can potentially, but it really doesn't have to be if you kind of just keep it, I don't know, kind of fluid and moving from, I don't know, kind of a perspective sake, okay? So just think about those types of things, and there's all kinds of different ways you can utilize your existing stamps, okay? All right, so this right here, we have our light source right up here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to stamp out this exact composition right here, but instead of in the warm tones, they're going to be moving through a transition of incrementally darker cool tones, blue tones. Okay, you can do this with any color scheme you want. This would look really good in the kind of an emerald green colored scheme or something like that, or magentas and pinks or something like that. I don't know, all kinds of different color schemes. But, okay, so when I'm applying some ink down here, if you didn't watch this scene being done, I retained some areas of white. This is a quarter page glossy cardstock, okay? You can do this on a matte or satin piece too, but the retention of light is going to be the same, okay? Any place you want to have light, it's just a matter of keeping it light. When people see a finished product like this, a lot of times they think that you have added the white back into a colored piece of paper or something like that. But no, it's just white paper. And you're just going into it and retaining some areas of light, okay? This is a bit called what I call a base coat of color, okay? And it doesn't have to be super smooth. Well, it just depends on what kind of composition you're doing, but I'm going to be filling in with a lot of different imagery, not different types of imagery, but this will all be my clouds in the background, so it's all going to be very textural. You can see it right here. So my retention of light is just keeping some areas white like that, okay? And I'm going to try to be mindful of that as I work through my progression of blue values, okay? Mix and match, you can mix, brilliance, not brilliance, memento inks, distress, you got Stampin' Up, go ahead and use those, okay? All right, so it's the same applique. This is just paper towel, as you can see. It's almost like finger painting, right? Like that. Takes you back to, I don't know, kindergarten, maybe on a subconscious level or something like that. Kind of going in there with your fingers. The body parts, they're some of the, most natural kind of ergonomic applicators you can get. We don't have an absorbent fingertip where we can just take our ink in like that. I guess we could, but just put something at the end and use it accordingly. It's very comfortable. Stay within kind of a nice ergonomic positioning with your applications, and your applications will go on much more gracefully, and you won't be absorbing any impact in your fingers and whatnot. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like this. I know this doesn't look like it's going to look like that, but it just looks like that right there. It's not super smooth or anything like that. It's kind of, I wouldn't say it's haphazard, but it's definitely not me being super careful. Hello, Tammy. Good to see you. You're the first commenter here. I don't know how many people, I don't have it on my site, so I don't know how many people are in here, but good to see you. Thanks for commenting. I never know how many people are in these lives, but whoever's in here, if anyone else is, thanks for checking out what I'm doing here. If you've just logged on, I'm doing a sibling version of this one right here. Just doing it in cool tones. So it's almost like we're changing seasons here. Hello, Tammy. Good to see you. Thanks as always for tuning into the lives. You know, I'm always just jumping on here, you know, whenever I can. I have like an hour before I have to go pick up my kid at in downtown San Diego from a San Diego Padres band performance. I would go to the game too, but he has his parkour practice today. Hello, Karen, if I didn't say that. Okay. I was thinking about the Padres. Okay. But anyway, that is that. That doesn't look like that, though, does it? Okay, now, so this being said, we can stamp out our clouds on here first and then do all this toning after it. You know, sometimes it's easier for people to see, okay, I want to keep that cloud light if it's on there. But if you already kind of know this process, right? Hello, CM Hawkins, good to see you. If you already know kind of, you know, how this cloud works, I find it just as easy just to put that on the background like that, so that when you stamp our images over the top of it, you know, we're not dealing with kind of a wet impression and then going on with the inks and then kind of blending them out or smearing them or something like that. So sometimes I add in some inks, then go with the impressions, then add on some additional inks on top of it. So different ways to do this, okay? But when you're doing it this way, just remember, if you want to keep some of the clouds light like that, then just don't tone everything out. It's really easy. Okay, so going like this. I'm kind of wiping this on. This is kind of getting a little bit what people might refer to as sticky, okay? My inks are kind of drying up really fast here. And I was mentioning to people, this is when people are doing like this type of color application, you don't have to use Stampscapes like this. You know, for a while there, I wasn't doing any glossy cardstock at all. I got like, you know, in love with foils and, you know, the silk-coated cardstocks and all that type of thing. And using paint pens and colored pencils. You can't put colored pencils on glossy, okay? But, you know, when I'm doing this, I'm reminded of just, you know, how kind of, I don't know, kind of, it's not really sticky, but the colors aren't gliding on there, okay, as easy as they were when I kind of saturated the papers a little bit like this, okay? Let's see. Karen got a little confused, had just watched the yellow version, so thought I started the same again until I saw the blue colors. Well, I'm not doing that. I'm doing a blue colored version of it. I don't know what you mean by that. Is that what you mean? You can do any kind of color scheme that you want, Karen. We are not. You have no rules. I relinquish that, you know, any kind of rule making on you in full. Hello, Beverly. How are you today? Tonight, wherever you are. All right, this is getting really dry on me. So this is what you do, okay? You go back in with a lighter tone. Now, this is one of the things that I mention to people. If you have like a re-inker fluid of whatever color scheme you're working with, this one would have been like yellow, okay? What you do is you just go back in and, okay? Because these are really setting up. This is like dry right now, okay? And I'm trying to apply a thicker version of my darker tones, but they're not blending in very well. If you're in Arizona, you're doing this all the time. You know, Utah, Nevada, you know, the southwestern states, you know, that are going to be hot and dry, okay? You go back in with a little bit of re-inker fluid, okay? And you just kind of re-moisten this whole thing, okay? Like so. So it's kind of lubricating the surface like that. And it's also saturating the pulp a little bit too. Yeah, and Beverly too, you know, listening to me. would have exacerbated the sleepy feeling too, I would have lulled you to sleep even when you are at your most awake state, probably. I've been told that many times over the years, my voice and delivery, it puts people comatose here. Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, Karen, this will be your kind of complimentary piece. You can see what the end of this one's going to look like. See which one you like better. I want to do this one because, well, first of all, I have all the stamps out, but I like doing these different types of things. A lot of times when people start doing landscape stamping, and when I see them kind of really hitting their stride and getting really adept at doing whatever scene they really want to, and they have the techniques down as well, or a one technique, or many, I don't know. One of the things that I find that's a really great exercise for them is I say, what you do is now take your knowledge of a certain scene. Let's say they stamp a scene out and it's springtime with wildflowers and a green meadow or something like that. Now do that same scene, but do it in the fall, in a fall type of setting, maybe earthy tones or something like that, deciduous trees changing colors, whatnot. And then do it as a winter scene or something like that. Or do it as a nighttime scene or something of that sort, okay? And that really gives you kind of a really good handling of or it kind of puts you kind of in the mindset, I guess you can say, of variation and thinking about nature as kind of an ever-changing type of thing. It's not so static, like something like this. I mean, it's a sun type of thing, but even this, it's just one image. I like to kind of have it feel like it's moving in a way. We want it to look like it's light, but I like for a little bit of a kind of a notion of moving, clouds are every time kind of changing and whatnot, okay? It might not, we might not be able to depict that, but it's kind of just a mindset. It puts you kind of in a frame of mind. And where it applies to what we're doing is if something doesn't come out like we preconceive it, I don't have a lot of preconceived notions. I kind of have the gist of something, but it allows us when we're making something to be accepting of what comes up, even if it's unexpected, and we're just kind of dealing with it, because it's just like going outside and just dealing with the weather. You go outside and, we didn't know it was going to rain, but, you know what I mean? It's flexible, but that's the flexibility I like when doing any type of project, I'm fine with kind of unexpected and unintentional things that happen along in that process. And it takes the hook off of us of having to be, replicating something perfectly or something like that. Hello, Jason, again. Good seeing everyone. We have regular commenters here. Thanks, everyone, for always commenting, too. Thanks for being here, even if you don't comment. You don't have to. But otherwise, I don't know if I'm talking to anyone. Okay, so I'm going pretty dark here, like that. This is where, when I'm teaching people this, they get down those, like, lighter tones just fine, but it's oftentimes in these darker tones like this. This is where people lose their light. Not usually if it's like the light source, but these kind of secondary areas. Like, let's say if they were doing a meadow down here or something like that, it would, not in this scene, but oftentimes when we get into these tones like this, because it gets so wet and blending in these colors like this, they go farther into the scene because the page is kind of wet. Does that make sense? So you have wet into wet. When we're doing these other colors underneath here, where the paper is still a little bit dry, it's absorbing our ink, so we're just not getting as much coverage. So, you know what I mean? So what I do when I get to something like this is I just do a little bit more applications on the side like that. And then it's getting kind of drier on my applicator, and then I just come in here. Thanks, Darlene. Soothing, that's a better, maybe that's a better word than boring. Uh, in terms of someone presenting. It's really a factor, especially I was teaching some workshops this weekend, and I was telling them that those after lunchtime hour ones, usually if they started around 2 or something like that, like a 2 to 5 in person classes, I had to get them started stamping very quickly because first of all, it's like right after lunch and everyone's it's a little bit of tired, and then of course listening to me talk, and kind of describe the class and what they're getting into. It's like I gotta get people stamping. They're falling asleep here. So there's no doubt that happens in a remote as well. Okay, so that's what we're seeing here, right here. See, this is going to be my sun, and then these two areas right down there are reflected light. Okay. All right. So let's see here. All right, so this is my sun. A lot of people don't have the wooden version. I'm just going to show you this wooden version here. If you didn't watch that, especially if you didn't watch that last scene last night where I logged on at midnight here. But see how these billows are being toplit right here? This is going to be my sun right here, and these clouds right here are going to be illuminated. So if I'm stamping this cloud right here, those billows are going to be kind of more pointed down, okay? As I move around here, it's going like this and like that, okay? If I'm stamping it down here, the billows are fading this way. A lot of times people kind of forget, or they don't remember which way this is pointed. So like I was showing someone, this is what someone showed me, and I thought, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that so, other students can find. But this is just the unmounted version. You can do it with the rubber. This one happens to be the cling version, but they wrote that arrow facing, so they know that way's facing towards the light. I would say that way's facing up, but it's not really facing up because if I stamp it above my cloud, that cloud is being bottom lit, so you would kind of face it down this way, okay? So everyone get that? All right, so what does this look like? And what color do you stamp it out in, okay? All right, so if I stamp this out in the lightest of blue like this, we're not going to be able to see this at all because the colors underneath it are already darker. So you have to figure out what color is going to show up on here. Let me just do it in a light tone just to make a point here that, that you can't see it, okay? Let's see, Karen, recently received the Lake Cove stamp set. Feel it needs practice to get to know the stamps. Yeah, if it's the large Lakeside Cove stamp, there's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if there's 100 lessons just with that Lakeside Cove large stamp set. If it's nature set number 8, if it's nature set number 9, the Lakeside Cove small set, I do have a complete mini workshop over like, I don't know, I think it's video series 615, and there's 615 A, B, C, D. I think I got all the way up to I, where we're using compositions. I'm doing it in foils, I think. I think I did it in Star Dream. It was a little mini workshop for a group of gals that were getting together, and 2 of them had just started doing some scenic stamping, and the rest of them hadn't done any scenic stamping at all. So it's kind of takes people from, well, they're all beginner types of applications, but just different types. Okay, this is the Caribbean blue here. I'm going to stamp this out here, okay, and lift it up. You can see a little bit of it, but barely. Okay, now when that dries, you're not going to be able to see it at all. But I'm just making a point here that you have to go as dark or, well, a little bit darker than the tone that you've already laid down here. Now, like I said, you could have already stamped all these clouds before and then started coloring it in. If I'm doing it on matte paper, you can color it in with chalks and pastels, colored pencils or something like that. The most vivid tones tend to be layered dye-based inks and on glossy cardstock. That's why this glossy cardstock, that's why they print like things like movie posters on it and book covers and things like that. It's the most vibrant potential surface for those types of applications. They really want a lot of attentions for that. Crystal Fire, can't wait to get some of these stamps. Love. Well, when you get it, experiment around. Drop us a note here if you need any kind of instruction on how to get started. There's a lot of lessons in the stamp modules as well. So, like here, talking about the Lakeside Cove set, you can go into the Lakeside Cove or any of the images for the Lakeside Cove. This is my Prussian blue. It is completely disintegrating. It is a 30-year-old, at least, stamp pad. All right, I need to use a different color for this one. Marvy pads are not available any longer, but the re-inkers are. And did I say hello, Donna? Hello, if I didn't. The re-inkers are, so a lot of times what I'm doing, with this type of ink application, Marvy inks are really, really bright. Now, I don't only use Marvy inks. I have, Distress inks. I have a lot of Memento inks. Love them all. But Marvy's are the brightest, okay? So, hello, Beth. Good to see you. If you use, let's say, hey, I don't want to buy, 40 different Marvy inks. You don't have to. If I use one Marvy ink, like say the yellow, with a bunch of Distress inks, Memento inks, whatever, Stampin' Up, okay? That one color will brighten up the whole color scheme, okay? So it just has to be layered in here somewhere, and then you'll get the benefit of that extra kind of boost of intensity for all of the other colors. Like Distress inks are, they're not supposed to be bright. They're supposed to look real aged and, real earthy looking, kind of weathered, right? So, but you can use those for their hue that they are. But if you want to increase the intensity level of them, you have that option. Okay, so, all right. Let's go with the blue here. This, check out, oh my God, that one's all whipped. My blues are all whipped. Let's see. Let's go with, this is where, I did mention about making do, right? Prime example here. All right, let me see. Okay, here. Crumbling pads. Never a really desirable trait of our pads, but certainly something that we have to deal with. Here's Danube blue. All right, so let's do this right here. Okay, so my goodness, my blue, my beloved blue ink Marvy pads. They used to sell blank pads, but they stopped doing that fairly recently. But like I said, we don't necessarily need those as long as they have the re-inkers. But don't wait too long if you might think you might want to get some of those. Even if you get like 8 in re-inker form, those will last a really long time, and you can have a really good range of super bright, intense colors to mix into any combination with other types of dye-based inks. Okay, so here I'm going to put in this cloud first, okay? Cloud with sun. And one of the things I teach in my workshops and whatnot, but sky figures, they're all going to be rectangles, right? Now this one's very airy. It's made out of a bunch of dots and things like that. There's not a lot of solids, but sometimes it's just nice to kind of blot off the edge like that. See that? And then when you stamp it into this scene right here, it'll be wetter on the interior, and then it'll fade out around the side. Thus, you can blend in with the other sibling images, the other additional images that you blend in here. So a lot of times, that's the biggest question that people have about kind of the scenes, when you look at something like this, it's not really apparent where one image ends and the other one begins. How big is that cloud? Is it one big stamp that someone has stamped, or what? That's what a lot of people think, okay? All right, now that is that Danube blue with that cloud around there, okay? Yeah, Crystal Fire, 30 years old, and I know that because, like these ones right here, those embossed gold pads, they stopped making those about 30 years ago, and then these ones with the sticker came out. You know, it's just cheaper to make for the manufacturer. And I bought a lot of those at that time, and you know, I used to teach workshops with those pads. So the ones I'm using are the workshop pads. So they got a lot of usage over the years. Okay, so oh yeah, speaking of that, I am absolutely fine with pads. Even if it lasted 20 years, that's pretty good. Hello, Jeannie. Hello, Debbie. I don't know, Jeannie, do you have some of those? Jeannie, you have all the Marvies, right? Okay, so let's bring this in here. Hello, Barrett. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm going with the Danube blue, right? That is going to be darker than the Caribbean blue that, you know, that I just did a simple example of because I knew it wasn't going to, you know, be very visible there. Okay, go like this. I could wipe off the edge of this cloud too, but it's kind of in a dark area, so I don't really need to do that. Now, one of the things I was demonstrating in the live stream last night is some of these clouds down here are not going to be visible because I'm going to bring in some additional inks in here, but I want to show you what I do with this when that happens, okay? In Stampscapes, I try to make it where there's never a point of no return. As a matter of fact, it kind of, you incorporate these different types of layering principles in with the in with your process. Hello, Bobby. Good to see you. All right, so there we have it. Do you see where I was mentioning kind of the direction of this? So when I stamp these, it's like that, that, and then that. Okay, you see how it's kind of changing the angle like that. And one of the things I didn't mention is like when I make an impression like that, okay, let's say it's right here. The next impression is more like this. It's not going right up to the edge of that one. It's overlapping it, okay? And that's how you get this seamless nature, even stamping it out, I don't know, what was 10 times or something like that. And this one, because the lighting sun is underneath this cloud, you just flip that around and you're doing it that way, okay? Sometimes people do it this way. This, this, this. You can kind of blend it in, but it's like going kind of opposite of that lighting direction. So you can put, you know, that arrow on there. You might say like, you can even write light source on there. I don't know, whatever you would call it. Okay, so this is just stamped out like that. Okay, now I can't use these crumbling pads apparently to stamp out imagery in anymore, but you can keep these for your color applications still. You know, who cares if there's a little bit of crumbs on it, right? I guess I do, but I can live with it though. I don't want it there. Okay, so let's go and see this right here. We kind of push the color range. This is really black out here. It looks brown, but that's just like a layer of gray because it's a lighter application of black. But I did use black all the way around on the perimeter right here. So black would be a lot darker than that. So I'm going to bring this darker with darker blues first before I jump into the black. So if you can get darker using your colors, then do that first, okay? And I'm going to show you where stamping out additional impressions with this cloud really enhance this. So some people might see this, if they're doing this, as a bad thing. In other words, as they start toning in, it's like, oh my gosh, I stamped out all my clouds, you can't see them anymore. They might see that as a bad thing, but it's really not. Now, if I had a church or something down here, like some subject matter, you know, where you really wanted to focus in on something like that and it's gone, you know, that's not good. But skies, you can just about do anything you want with them. They're constantly changing. you had a high noon here, you know, or something like that, and I don't know. Then it got darker. Well, it's just, I don't know, have it just be a different time of year or a different time of day or something like that, right? Okay, so adding that in, see, the darker I go, the less we can see those darker clouds, or those lighter clouds, I should say, in those areas like that, okay? I want to go even darker. Okay, let's go with that Prussian blue. This looks black, but it's Prussian blue. It's one of the darkest of blues out there. An equivalent in like Distress or something like that might be, I don't know, this one right here. Does anyone have Blueprint Sketch from the Distress ink line? That thing is so dark. I almost had to worry about that one because it gets really dark. We'll try it on here. Let's see what it looks like. Some of these inks too, the characteristic of the color, it's a different color, but they almost act differently too. It's almost like they're thinner or something like that. They penetrate and stain much faster. Let me try that right here. Okay, so when I was mentioning, you know, you get these re-inkers for things. Well, when I'm doing ink applications like this, no matter what applicator I'm using, what I was mentioning, you don't always have to have the pad because all you have to do is you add in that ink to your applicator, right? And then you just utilize it like that. You don't have to have a pad to go like ink and, you know, use it on there like that. So, all right. Let's see how dark that is. That's not too much dark. I did, and it looks like I achieved a pretty full saturation, but it is really dark though still. Actually, it is getting quite a bit darker right there. Look at that rich blue, okay? So when you move into these darker tones, just remember, you know, if you want to retain some of that light, don't stamp over all of it, okay? You can go over some of it, but if you want to retain that light, then just don't go over it. You can add some light back into it like white pigment ink, but if you can just kind of inherently keep it on there without having to do some kind of additive process later, it just removes a lot of the, you know, additional work you might have to do, you know, kind of later on. Okay, see that right there too? You make the area a little bit darker right there by contrast. That sun is going to look a little bit lighter. Hello, God's desire for me. I was thinking I should call people by their things so people know who I'm talking about on the chat board and stuff. But hello, Diana. Versatile Clairs. Oh, the VersaFine Clairs. Auto-correct there. And the entire Distress line. Yeah, the Distress lines, the Clairs are fantastic. I don't have a lot of Clairs. I have the black. I think that's it. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so the Clairs are going to be pigment inks. Remember, those are oil-based pigment inks there. Yeah. A few mementos. Yeah, the mementos are really great. The mementos are really great because they're supposed to be light, fast, and non-fading, okay? I don't know what inks the Lavinia pads are. They must be really fantastic, you know, from looking at all the samples that I see from them. 4 years. Awesome. Awesome. You have a good collection of a nice range of probably colors, but different types of inks too, which are good. So like I said, you have the pigments and the dyes. Hello, Janet. If I forgot to say hi to someone, hello. And hello to everyone not commenting, okay? Thanks for joining in. Okay, so see this? Now I'm going really dark here, okay? Because I want to obscure a lot of the imagery out here, just to make a point here too. I think it's gonna look better too. But let's go in. I would have done these in my blues, but they're all crumbling and destroyed. But let's go to black now with our image again, okay? And what you're going to do is you're just going to reiterate what you have done before, but you're just going to do it in a darker hue, and there's nothing darker than this one. Well, Marvy Black's not going to be as dark as like the VersaFine Clair Black, but in terms of a hue in the dye-based range, it's going to be as dark as it can get. And where do you put this, okay? I mean, I can put it wherever. I'm not going to put it right next to my sun because I want that to be a little bit of a lighter tinge of things. So I'm going to put this in the darker areas like this. Debbie's been stamping a while. Debbie, you started stamping pre-unmounted cling foam, clear stamps, etc. All right, so see that cloud in there? Now it looks odd because it's isolated in there. I'm going to go for a second impression like this and see if I can get a second impression. In the old days, we used to call it huffing, where you huff on the stamp to get, you know, a little bit more moisture on there for a second impression. But yeah, not too bad, okay? So hopefully what this is looking like now is you're creating this kind of sense of depth through the use of value. That's what my second workshop's all about, is kind of utilizing darker impressions of things to create that sense of visual depth, okay? And the things that are darker tend to look closer to us, okay? That's why we'll do, you know, we'll do our foreground in here very dark, okay? See how that's looking right there? And I'm going to blend that in too. It looks a little bit, you know, a little bit harsh right now, but we'll blend it in. Glenda jumped on when I logged on last night at 12:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. She saw this. Yeah. Now you're seeing the blue version. We're doing a blur version here, Glenda. I didn't know if anyone was going to log on, but it was kind of an international, largely international group that you know, that said anything actually. Old black foam. You have some of those stamps. Those aren't Stampscape stamps, but yeah, interesting. But look how that's looking now. Isn't that kind of? It's kind of creating this little corridor of light, isn't it? By having these clouds like that. Jeannie's cheating at work there. See, Jeannie, I'm still at work watching with no volume. See, that's the wrong thing, right? The volume should be like maxed out actually on the speakers, on the intercom actually as well. Okay, let's see. Let's add some down here. Look at that. It's looking even better, isn't it? It's creating a lot more depth. It's a shame that I'm going to stamp something over all of that now. It's a shame we're going to cover all that up. I love doing these different types of things. I taught just a sky class this weekend as well. You know, when you were talking about skies, we're talking about the manipulation of values, you know, light, medium, dark, but it's also about textures and things like that in skies. You know, in skies, we can do them in any kind of color scheme. I love the freedom of, you know, sky figures and doing that. You can do them in all kinds of different color schemes. And they don't have to be, say, realistic or something like that. You know, they could be, you know, I think looking at like things like Disney classic animation movies and things like that, you know, you can really infuse a lot of kind of your personality into the skies. Uh-oh, Debbie lost some wood-mounted stamps from previous moves. Wow, huh. Moving is such a pain. I hate it. I hate packing up. Packing up's like the worst because you get down to that last those last things that just don't fit comfortably in like boxes, like books, or you know what I mean. Books are easy, although they're heavy. But It's all those little things, you know, taking it around. Hello, Cindy. Thanks for joining in. Okay, now see this right here? We have all that. This is really, really heavy in texture, right? We'd call it kind of busy, all right? So here's what you do. After you do those types of things, you just take your blending tool. I call this like finger painting here. And you just kind of blend in those darker images. Now I'm not going to blend in the lighter blue tones. Okay, I'm blending in the black with black. All right, like this, and we can really go for a lot of different value up there. Like that's practically black right there. Okay, but like I said, we're working with contrasts here, so you make this area up here a little bit darker or a lot darker. Let's say we make it 3 steps darker right here. By contrast, that looks 3 notches lighter in that way. Yeah, no one likes moving unless you're moving into like some new place and that's like, oh, you got this brand new, you know, like awesome studio or something like that, you know, and it's kind of fun to kind of, you know, arrange it or whatnot. But everything else is, you know, I don't like it. it's like a cringy type of thing to do. It does give me a chance to, I would say it gives me a chance. You can do it at any time, but it kind of forces me to kind of streamline things. It's like, okay. I don't know if it applies to crafting supplies, because there are some supplies that I've been doing over this last year, like colored pencils, and I had my vellum tablet for like 25 years and I just never used it until last year. So I am getting around to using my crafting supplies, but other things, it's like, okay, I haven't used that thing in, you know, 15, 20 years. You know, why am I holding on to it? You know, not talking family albums, I'm talking like household items, you know. Anyways, you see how that's kind of really mellowing things out. It's kind of blending things together a little bit more. I'm not just trying to black it all out, you know, and I am trying to go for grayscale in here. I'm going for dark, okay? But here's what people aren't used to doing too. This is what I'm really trying to reinforce in my workshops, is the utilization of dry applications of whatever media you're working in, so that you can achieve a range of values just from certain inks. Okay, so, you know, one, you know, Memento Danube Blue doesn't have to be Danube Blue over the whole thing. It could be Danube Blue in this incarnation, but a very light version of it. Like that's probably like Danube Blue there or something where I, you know, stamped over the paper with it or something like that. But you want to kind of achieve like a nice full range of values here. So see, as I'm applying this on here, I'm not really applying black, right? I'm applying this, right? It's like a 5%, I don't know, maybe 2% gray right there. You know, like one tap, that's really light. I don't know, maybe that's 2%. But then you do this right here, and that collectively becomes like a, I don't know, is that even 10%? I don't know. Okay, so you're utilizing that. So it's going from darker to lighter like that. That, you know, that gives us much more mileage out of our stamps, you know, at our inks that we have. You know, they were just mentioning what colors they have in terms of their pads and everything like that. You can look at this as 3 different colors of blue right here, okay? And it is, but when you utilize it, it could be the equivalent of 300 pads, because you can use any one of these colors from its strongest saturation all the way to white and barely visible. So you have all the values in between it. So if you think about your inks in terms of your usage of them, you know, you can really expand on, I don't know, the different, you know, things you can express from that same color there. That's my finger tool right there. Look at that. And these are on sale on the Stampscapes website this week. I'm joking. It's the magic finger ink applicator / blending tool. Jason works on a 5-year hold period. Oh, you're kidding me, Jason. I started using, like I said, I started using like stuff that I haven't used in like 25 years. I get where you're coming from, though. If you know you're absolutely not going to use it, then why not? If you have new stuff coming in from. But like my bleed proof fight was like an example. I got that like when I was in school, college. Not this particular bottle, but I don't know. I had it sitting around for like 20 years before I started using it all the time in scenes. As a matter of fact, I'm going to use it on this one. Viva towels are smooth. I get this one, whatever one is at Costco. I think it's like, is that Brawny or it's one of the B's, at least in our Costco's. But yeah, the smooth ones. That's a good point, though, Crystal File. One of the things when I'm doing with this, a lot of times when I first ink it up, okay, if it's brand new, it has all that texture on it. So one of the things that I do sometimes is after I ink it up, I kind of blot it off, but I kind of, you can see where I've rubbed, this smooth. I'm kind of getting that cringy type of thing right here, like, going on a chalkboard or something like that. But remember, I do it after I have it wet right here, okay? Yeah. Make sure, Janet, when you go into the paper towel section, make sure it has that little rubber stamping icon on it, though, that's specifically for color blending. See, people don't know I'm joking there's gonna be a message on like Facebook, where it's like you have to look for that, or someone will come back to me later on, that it's something comment I made in a convention or something. Is it true that you have to have, or I contacted the manufacturer. They don't know what I was talking about with the rubber stamping version. Okay, let's see here. Let's go back in. Let's warm this up a little bit, okay? And go back into... I don't really like this Caribbean blue. Hello, Joyce! The Paper Genius. That's a cool YouTube name. I like it. See that? Look at that glow kind of happening there. It really looks green, though, doesn't it? It looks greener than, I don't know. Well, I guess it looks like that. But I don't know, maybe going a lot darker like that out there, and it seems a little bit greener than normal. Warmer, I should say. So this is it's tweaking the temperature scheme a little bit in here. Okay, and like I was saying earlier, a lot of times, a lot of other inks too, a lot of other brands, even more than Marvy, they dry dull. Okay, so you can hit it again with another layer, but then when you are done with this, you can also just spray seal it, and it'll bring back a lot of the vibrancy and saturation that might have apparently been lost, but it's really still there, but it just has this kind of dulling kind of frosty kind of finish to it, okay? All right, so I need to make a moving on here because I need to take off before too long here. I pre-made my card here that I'm going to mount this on. It's going to look something like this here. Okay. That's funny, Janet. Okay. Hello, Heather. I haven't caught one of your lives in a long time. Oh, well, if you're talking about those initial lives that I did from years ago, yeah, that's, I've been just doing these ones fairly recently. Okay, so that is that. So let's really push depth in here a lot more. Okay, so here's what I did yesterday. I stamped out this pine here just in dye-based ink, okay? My normal inclination is just to stamp these all out the same, okay? But I thought I was going to change things up a little bit, so I went embossing, and this was just non-embossed. So I thought I can create a little bit more depth with an embossed image and a non-embossed image. One's a little bit lighter, one's a little bit darker, and of course it's raised there. Good morning in Scotland, Donna. Good to see ya. Okay, so black on the leafless pine here. I don't know if I'll do the exact composition, okay, maybe, I don't know. Let's see how it goes. I like a lot of the things that are going on down here, so maybe I won't do too much over that top of it, I don't know. Carson, California. Donna, I don't know if that Carson, California show is going to return. You know, I haven't heard anything about it. I'm not necessarily the person that hears news. A lot of times I'm the last person that, you know, to ask about any kind of like thing. But the last thing I heard though is that, you know, that show just might not be returning in its former incarnation, okay? Now don't, no, quote me on this, but I was thinking that maybe there could be other coordinators that would do a show, you know, in the general, you know, Los Angeles or Orange County area. I don't know. And then the shows that I've been doing, I've been teaming up and doing them with the guy that makes all my rubber. So we kind of share a booth. It, you know, really cuts down on expenses and whatnot and makes it a little bit more, you know, whatever, doable. Okay, so that is that black right there. Look how it kind of enhances the trees. If you put something light or dark next to something lighter, again, by contrast, it makes the lighter things look that much lighter, okay? Oh, US in Florida, so Heather is at 8:26. That's where one of my students was from over the weekend in the workshop. Okay, VersaFine Clair, right? Because the VersaFine Clair is an oil-based ink, and the clear embossing powder will stick to it with no problem. And I love the VersaFine Clair. Who doesn't love VersaFine Clair? Okay, let's go down here like this. Everyone was saying Clair, 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 and I said, hey, well, I already have the VersaFine pad. So I didn't get that Clair for a long time. I didn't know the Clair would be, I wouldn't say it's like leaps and bounds, you know, better, but I feel it's, you know, it's a refined version of it. I love the pad material itself. It's just dense and it just feels good. Yeah, it is, huh, Jason? There's so much more texture. I'm into texture. If you can't tell, you know, I'm kind of kinesthetic. I work in the visual field, of course, but I always like kind of contrasting like soft against sharp, you know, hard, you know, different textural types of things, even though I'm working in a two-dimensional surface like this. But I do like to add in where I can textural elements, raised elements, whatnot, into my pieces to add that, you know, that element into them, you know, a sense of touch. Okay. All right, so these are nice and wet, right? You can see that juicy, I don't know if you can tell. It can slide, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, crank that up. Put that volume on over. Put it on the intercom to there, Jeannie. Blast it. I'm joking. All right, maybe I don't know. Maybe it'll put your patients at ease, you know. Okay, let's hit this with the embossing now. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want embossed in here. Again, here we're referencing this piece. Look at it, look at the different kind of personalities though too, huh? Of these two pieces. In the different color schemes, you can kind of, you know, contrast it against one another. I was mentioning how I recommend to some people, you know, to play around with different seasons and things like that. And this is wise because you can get just by changing your color scheme around, you can get so much of a vast difference in terms of the emotional feel of something. Okay, and the embossing excess powder tool, Hey folks, I'm lazy, So I don't feel like, doing other things like that. So that, to me, that is good enough. Not that other tools are bad, okay? I'm just, All right. I don't know which one I like better either. Well, let's see what these look like here. All right, folks, gonna be a little bit noisy with this. Sorry about that. Okay, you guys, you got a little bonus ASMR, the nice chill, relaxing sounds of the heat gun. All right, there's that. We can see the raised kind of aspect and reflective quality of them too. What I like is, I was showing this piece yesterday, and what I like is that, that looks different too in terms of a scene than that, I mean, when people do this, those trees look different at different angles with how much light is being reflecting off of them. So that looks kind of different. That looks just like straight two-dimensional flat ink, but then you get that little extra, I don't know, kind of three-dimensional part from it. Hello, Lori Cat in Northern Cal. Good to see you. Sukaneko is certainly great, that's for sure. Debbie keep, doing a great job in rehabbing that body. All right. Where in Northern Cal are you? Or I don't know, can we ask that? Not your address, but... Okay, let's see. Oh, let's hit this. Let me see if I still have my little, my little birds in flight right here, okay? I should almost do this after I mount it because I'm going to be mounting this on the paper. These little guys might remain wet, but let's just do them right now. All right, so that gives a little bit of a, it's kind of a very subtle kind of a, like a visual focal point. People tend to look at little animals and things like that in scenes, or people, man-made things like cabins and whatnot. Let's see. Let's hit this right here. Yeah. A nice on fire thing. It's definitely a different emotional kind of quality to it, isn't it? Okay, this is the silver. Okay, here. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna stamp this quote, this word stamp after I mount this, because I'm gonna heat set that too. Okay, I don't want to get this all smeary right here, especially in a live stream where it would be really embarrassing. Okay. I heat set that dye-based. That wasn't in the Claire. It was just the dye-based ink. Okay, let me just get this. Let me make sure everything is fairly dry. Okay. Oh, Lodi Stockton. I taught at in like that old, or no, not in Stockton. I was thinking of somewhere else. One of my old college suite mates was from Stockton. I was gonna say, I don't think I ever remember a store carrying our stamps in Stockton, but definitely in the neighboring, cities around in that area. This friend of mine was a marine a marine engineer. I think that was his major, and he used to go out into that the Delta area and do some kind of work out there. I think while he was in junior college out there. Okay, so that is I pre-mounted, I cut out that piece of paper, white paper, and mounted on this glossy, dark cardstock. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, they could be bats too. Donna sees bats, so they are bats for her. Ah, you got number sets run through 4, huh? I should do some. I should do more live streams with it. One of the things I'm going to start doing too, either in a live stream YouTube thing, or what I'll do is I'll just say, we're going to have this kind of a stamping bash type of thing I was mentioning to someone in the workshop today, and I'll do it around like a certain set. So it's like, and I'll pre-announce it. I'm not going to, do it. It's not going to be an impromptu thing, but we'll say stamping bash using nature set number 4, whatever, okay? And then I'll send out or people will contact me and they'll tell me what, or that they want to do it, and then I'll send them the Zoom link to it. Or I don't know, I could post it on something like that. I don't know. Can you post like a Zoom link in the message board, like on something like this? I don't know. But we'll figure it out. But yeah, it's just kind of a log on, or people can do, or we can do like a follow along type of thing. Okay, everyone grab their cloud cumulus and stamp it here. I know, we'll see how it goes, but I thought it'd be kind of fun. I thought it'd be good in the Zoom call where I can actually see you guys too, not just read. Okay, so this is my silver ink. I'm going to do a test print because I can't tell if it's real wet. I haven't used my silver in a while. Yeah, that looks fine. One of my favorite inks is this brilliant Starlight Silver. Okay, and for those that don't know, the Brilliance inks are a water-based pigment ink. Most pigment inks are, if not all of them, are oil-based, okay? So I can stamp this out on here and not emboss this, and it's going to be good. Other oil-based inks on glossy paper, you're going to have to emboss it, okay? Because it won't set without it. But this right here, sorry if my big head's in your way here. Jeannie was mentioning the sliding of the impressions, which is definitely something you got to watch out for. Pigment inks are thick, and especially if you're doing it on glossy cardstock. Yeah, but that's exactly it, though. See, Donna, it's like just a stamping bash. It's like we're all doing things, and we can say, "Hey, Donna, how's that one coming over there with that?" And someone's working on with colored pencils, and we can say, "Hey, how's whatever? How's that coming along?" That type of thing. I don't know. That'd be kind of fun, and I'd be doing something else, maybe whatever. I might be doing colored pencils or whatever. I don't know, but we can see, yeah, what people are doing, or if they have run into something, if they're a beginner stamp and they just got some of the stamps, I might be teaching, or we can all be teaching them and giving them, different suggestions on what to do. But there's that piece right there. There it is. Oh, so this one's in the silver. This one's in the gold for the warm tones. Silver for the cool tones, okay? Now, one of the things I did for this one is I added in those little highlights, those white highlights on my imagery to give it that little extra depth. But one of the things I was thinking about this one is because it's this cool tone scene, winter, I don't know, midnight or whatever. I don't know if this is going to be represent snow or dusting of snow or just, I don't know, just some additional texture in this right here. That might be cool. Well, Jeannie, if it's on a Zoom call and it's anyone's camera shy, they can always turn off their camera and then, you know, get kicked out of the Zoom. But no. But wouldn't that be fun? I want to do that sometime. Okay. So anyways, oh, someone was saying that they were a moderator. Who was moderating that other one? Can't read in here. So thanks for joining in after moderating the other live. That was way back up there somewhere. Okay, so adding in some, I cleaned off my toothbrush here before. Okay. And I'm really bringing out a lot of this tone. These little white dots are really going to show up on here very distinctly because a lot of it is very dark, okay? So, that being said, just a little bit of ink kind of in the very tip of that. Believe it or not, I have a, if you look up Stampscapes splatter painting on YouTube here, I have a splatter painting video, okay? Oh my gosh, I forgot about this. I already have this on the edges right here. You guys didn't remind me. Here we go. All right. I forgot about that. I don't want to splatter paint all over there, so we're just going to do a little bit of extra housework here. Like this. I'd normally never have to do this, but as you can see, I don't plan out these videos, live streams, etc. They're not professionally, it's not a professional presentation, but kind of a little bit more in the spirit of how we work, right? Mine is pretty thin. I made mine way too thin, Tammy. At one point, I was combining all of my different. I had like 3 bottles of it, and one of them I was reconstituting the paint from like solid chunks, and I went way too far with the water in there. Okay. Let's see if this is still wet in here. This stuff dries pretty fast. All right, so let's see how this goes. Okay, so go like that. I'm about, I don't know, what, 6, 7 inches away from the card. And there is still plenty of juicy. By the way, Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White is a opaque white watercolor paint. But you can do other things, you know. I just have, this works really fantastic. People have used correctional pens. They've like flicked the pen down. I mean, you can do these little dots on here with your gel pen, acrylic paint pen. What else have people used? Gesso, acrylic white paint. The one thing about the Bleed Proof White, it's a specialty paint, so like even like a little tiny dot that's probably like 1/50th of a, you know, I don't know, maybe not that much, 1/10 of a millimeter, like that. It's really opaque, so it really stands out. Not that everything has to be opaque, you know, if you get a little translucent one with the blue showing through, hey, you know, that's great. But there you have the, I need low tack tape now. No, I don't want to do that, Debbie. That's too much work for me. What stamp shit should I get next? 5 through 8 or 9 through 12? Can't make up your mind. I tend to think that by the way, you can mix and match if you want to get those groupings of 4 too. Sometimes that's 5 through 8, so you can just email and say, hey Kevin, I want 7, 8, 9, and 10 or something like that too, or 7, 8, 9, 26 or something like that. So, but I tend to, there's a lot of fundamental foundational stamps in that 6 through 8. So just keep that in mind. Or email me and, and remind me that you have 1 through 4. I am using a toothbrush. Or what are you using with your toothbrush? The Bleed Proof White, Dr. P.H. Martin's. Oh, by the way, everyone, in all these replays, when I get things formatted, it's all in the description section of the videos of what I use. Now, I don't go into like specific things like I use the, the Marvy Caribbean blue or something like that. What I'll say is I used a range of blue tones. Okay, now this is a little bit of a, a blue, paint pen. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of reiterating the color scheme of this paint, of the color scheme in this paint pen. Why not get some of these blue stars or snowfall or whatever? They just look kind of farther back in the distance like that, okay? And let's do something here. So one of the things in my workshops this weekend that I really reiterate is the variation of texture, okay? Thanks, Donna. Okay, so like right in here, right around those clouds, in the lightest of areas, okay, this is going to represent kind of mist, illuminated mist, okay, so I don't want to put illumination in the darkest areas right here, so it tends to work really good in these lightest of areas. I don't have too many real light areas in here anymore, but let's just take some of this, okay? Now, I always mention this, but it's always kind of hard to get the concept when you're doing this at first, okay? You really kind of want to think of this application of ink. My pad is kind of medium dry right here, okay? But if you get a brand new pad and you go like this and then you go on here, it's going to leave you big blobs of paint, okay? So you really want to get your consistency right to make it a very easy and smooth application, okay? So see this right here? That's quite a bit of white right there, okay? As I go more, there's still quite a bit there. I'm tapping it harder, still quite a bit. Okay, let's see how it is now. Okay, so see it's much fainter, okay? And we're blending it in like so. I wore my glasses earlier, Jeannie, so if I wear them at certain points of the day, it's like I better wear them kind of going forward. Or sometimes I don't wear my glasses for like days. I don't know. Yeah, I've done like desert scenes, not like the Sahara specifically or something like that. I love the deserts though. One of my favorite places to go is Death Valley in the sand dunes out there. I go out there at nighttime and stay out in the dunes. Everyone clears out from the daytime, but I always go out there. So when you mention that, that's like an evocative type of notion for me. And you can do things like light beams in here as well too. But okay, so see what I'm doing there? See when you put that kind of that diffusion of tone over some of those birds look closer and some farther away. Plus, what you're doing here when you're doing something like this is you are adding in, I mean, doesn't that look soft in there now? I mean, it looks a lot softer now with a little bit of this. I mean, this took like, 30 seconds or something like that. But when you're doing something like this, you are really expanding on the textural range of this whole thing. This whole thing is crisp right now, okay? But then when you add in this, you add in somewhere a little bit of soft textures in there. And everyone likes soft textures, okay? When you're walking in a store and you pass by some kind of like, whatever, Angora, comforter or something like that, we feel compelled to go in there and touch it. Now, people aren't going to go in there and, go like this, oh my gosh, I'm touching this. But it's pleasant to look at, though. It kind of evokes that trigger mechanism in our heads, that we're drawn to kind of soft things like that or textural contrast, okay? So that's just like that with that. But let's see if I have a... let me grab a Q-tip here, okay? So this is what I like doing too with the Q-tip, okay? We go like this. Again, I don't want a blob, okay? So I'm gonna blot some of it off like this, but let's make some of these little things like this. It could be stars or whatever, I don't know what that is. But some of these larger ones, you can make little, in different types, in different scenes too, you can make these little things like this. A little firefly too. I keep referencing my workshop this weekend, but so one person had a swamp scene done, and they were, going into thinking about ways they can finish it off. So we made little glowing little lights like this with the use of a dot and that little area around it softer in our scenes, okay? So this same type of thing, it can represent like a little snowball or something like that or whatever. It can represent a twinkly glowing star in the sky. But it's just that kind of thing with soft things, okay? Everything in stamping is usually sharp because we want sharp impression. We don't want to stamp out a tree like that and say it's all soft, We want it crisp. But it's nice to go in and add these little soft little elements like that. If you add too much of it, just wipe it off. That, it'll come off. It's not like it's stuck, okay? You can add in this, especially on glossy cardstock. I don't like something like that. You just kind of blot it off a little bit, or I can take a little paper towel and blot that off. But look at that little glowing area there. Doesn't that add a lot of visual kind of richness to that little area in here? See this area down here? I mean, that looks okay to me, but let's add in a little bit of this barely applied pigment ink like that, and there's a little glowing star in that area, I added it right there, but it was a little bit too textural with the embossing powder, so let's remove that. So, you know what I mean? You go like that, you don't have to be afraid of it, okay? It just, you just wipe it off like that, right? It's not a problem. Here, I need to wipe it off with a paper towel because I'm smudging it there, but yeah. You can just go in there and do things like that. It's not any kind of big deal, all right? All right, there we go. All right. So there we have it. We have a sibling. Sorry, I haven't been reading the side here. Lady Aurora without the green. Yes. Kitten fur. That's a soft, evocative kind of, something that'll draw us in. Hello in Maine. I think I was telling you, Dawn, right? I always start daydreaming whenever I see the word Maine. I always travel back. I don't know. Do you guys have your favorite right here? Or maybe a hate one. But there are the two versions of it. They're certainly different, though, aren't they, in terms of the spirit of them? I'm trying to decide myself if there's one that I like more than the other. I'm not sure. I don't know. I like them both. It'd be like picking your favorite kid. Or maybe we do have our favorite, but, people that have multiples, but we'll never say it, But, okay. That is that. PJB likes the blue one better. She despises the warm. I'm just joking. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so some of my little snow things like that kind of disappear. So what you can do is you can come in with like a white one and add that little kind of center thing in there. And if you're doing little fireflies, people that have fireflies, lightning bugs in their area, tell me do it in the do the dot with the green instead, and then put that little glowing kind of mark around it, and it's pretty cool. I should do, one of the things I should do is I should do another piece in a different color and make this into kind of like a triptych or something like that. Or sometimes in the past, like what I've said, is I've mentioned it to people that, they get scenic stamping and something like that. They're doing all kinds of different scenes, and one of the projects I recommend for them is to do maybe a seasonal thing, have 4 of the same exact composition, but do them at different times of day, different times of the season. I mean, this one's using the cloud with sun and the cloud cumulus in the background, but you can do this foreground like this, but just do a Milky Way or something like that too, or an aurora borealis, with the northern lights type of thing going on in the background. It'd be a really cool kind of exercise to vary something like that. Yeah, sweetie. Yeah, with the birds, you can see those birds and look at the variation on them. And that's just a really small little stamp right there. But look at that, how, kind of putting some tone over some of them and leaving some just black. You can bring depth into like the tiniest of little things, can't you? Or can't we? With a little bit of white ink. Yeah, Tammy, what I see like that is like, for me, it's like after the storm or something like that, or it's still there, but there's like that moment where, the light comes streaming through or something like that. That does remind me of that. Yeah, purple one would be cool too. Or this, I was thinking about doing, before I did this scene today and decided to do it in blues like this, I was thinking about doing a foil version of this composition right here, maybe like in a blue foil or something like that. If I did that, I would probably do those crepuscular rays, the light beams coming from here. I was teaching someone this weekend how to have your light beams coming from, say, in back of one tree, but in front of another one. So you're weaving light throughout there like that. Fireflies to come, yeah. I wish that's one of those things. Northern Lights, I wish I'd see one of these days, and fireflies. I don't know, there's other things on the bucket list, but those are, I don't know, they're both about light though, aren't they? Yeah. Yeah. The lights are, yeah, the natural fires, not yeah, not the other ones. Not good stuff, but yeah, you can get some. There are some. Someone has some. Oh, I was Jolene Meyer, I think. Was it Jolene Meyer? I think she did a wildfire scene on a full page scene in the gallery. I was just looking through that the other day. But okay, I am going to sign off. I got to run here. I got to go downtown San Diego. I hate going downtown with all those one-way streets and all that type of stuff. I get confused. So we're going to leave a little bit early for that and go pick up my kid after he performs, with the rest of the band and symphony out at Petco Park. I think their Padres are playing Milwaukee or something like that, I heard. I wasn't even sure. No fireflies. Yeah, no fireflies here in San Diego either, Donna. I don't think anywhere. I don't think anywhere west of probably the Mississippi, right? I don't know. I'm not even sure. Thanks, Janet. Thanks, everyone, for always logging in and, commenting. I always enjoy, kind of stamping with some other stampers, crafters, and whatnot. And, keep the questions coming. As you know, especially if you've ever emailed me, you asked me one question, you got this kind of novel back to you. You know what I mean? I love talking and rubber stamping, as you can tell. I'm a stamp geek. So, yeah. All right, everyone, logging off. Let's see. Thanks again, everyone. See you on the next stream. And maybe Zoom or something like that in one of those stamping bashes. Yeah, that would be fun. So I hope everyone can join in. Those ones will be, scheduled or something like that. We'll work it around, sets or something like that. Or people can just log on and use whatever their own set. It'll just be a wide open kind of Stampscapes bash or whatever. Use whatever media you want. Or we can do the other ones where it's just like, hey, follow the leader type thing and let's make this project, a mirror card or something like that would be really cool. I don't see a lot of people like it, but I don't see a lot of people doing one and then like posting it on Facebook or whatnot. But those are really fun. Reink my pads, Rose. I reink them with the reinkers like so, with the dye-based inks. A few little drops on there does the trick. Oh, this is Prussian blue right here. I was looking for that. But a few little drops with the dye-based inks like that, little twirl. But with the pigment inks, I do a little squeeze on there, and then I have my, plastic card that I squeeze that into the surface with like that. But that's how I do those ones. Yeah, Linda, you missed this one, but you didn't miss anything. I was just putting people to sleep. But just joking. Blue one, warm. Orange, blue, whatever. All right, signing off again. We'll see you guys on the next video, whatever it might be. It might be this one again. Might be a blue version of this on like a mirror card. Huh. I don't know. We'll figure it out. All right. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you so much, Crystal Fire.